So this next question is, what is the lowest moment you've had raising your special needs child? Whew. I mean, it must be 2021, 2022 when Nathan got COVID and we were in hospital for um, a month plus. And the reason it wasn't the first time I was in hospital for that long, but it was the first time where we were so close to losing him that there are moments I couldn't breathe. And I remember the first week, first I was feeling awful that we didn't realize that it was COVID at that point. And then second thing is because he's dependent, we both got tested for COVID. And when he was found with COVID, I was found negative. But because he can't stay in a room by himself, we ended up both of us being isolated together, which means that the next 2 weeks I was healthy and isolated. That hits different because now the only people who come into your room are in full PPEs. They don't speak much. They've come to see Nathan and you're there because, I mean, you're the feeder or nutrient giver. I don't know. But those 2 weeks, and also because I was in the room when they intubated him because I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave the isolation room. So I sat at a corner and watched. Guys, when we entered hospital, when he got COVID, SpO2s were 39, 38. And I thought, yo, that's low. Well, like that's really low, right? Because it's supposed to be in your 90s, right? Mi niliona 7. Umeshaona SpO2 7, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Nikajua kimeumana, but it was in the middle of them now intubating and stuff and then putting those things, like putting the I can't explain it. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying I was stuck to the chair watching the entire process. And that must have been in my 10 years with Nathan. That moment was the most freakiest, lowest I have ever felt about. And it was low because there's this sense of helplessness. Like you can't do anything about it. You can't take away the pain. You can't take away the process. This needs to happen for him to stay alive. So that hopeless feeling in that moment was the lowest I've ever felt. And then he did recover, and I did. After the 2 weeks, I left isolation, and they now took him to proper ICU. So the first time they isolated us in a room together, and then after 2 weeks, they took him to now the ICU itself, and now there I couldn't stay. Yo, okay, sawa. I got the chance to go home, and because I mean, these are also 2 weeks away from my daughter, and I'd only see her during like a video call or something, but she couldn't come to hospital. She was young. So after those 2 weeks is when I could go home and now hang out with Hannah. So in my special needs journey, I think that being the key, the other moments where I had to be away from the other child because you are in fact, Hannah stopped breastfeeding at 4 months because I think Nathan got admitted in hospital for about 2 weeks when she was 4 months. and she would be brought to hospital in the morning for me to try and breastfeed. But the trick I discovered, the bottle removes more milk than you, mama. So she completely, and I'm telling you, as someone who's really looking forward to breastfeeding her, the fact that I couldn't do it for her the same way, and she like pushed me away. It's like it's it felt like I wasn't good enough in that moment, and you're helpless in this other situation. And that those small moments where I realize that if I don't juggle it correctly, one person, I'm shortchanging one child of my presence than the other. And I know there's nothing much I could have done. Those were the best decisions at that point. I had to stay in hospital. Yeah. We couldn't say, okay, fine, I'll stay 1 week in isolation and then you come and be isolated. I could have taken COVID home, So but yeah, 2021, 2022, when Nathan got COVID, that was the lowest period in my mother. Oh, there was also another one, May 2016, when Nathan got constipation and we waited for a month for him to poop. That one, I don't even think it was a low. That was a frustration. Like, guys, I was at the end of my rope that I left Gertrude's hospital. At that time, it was Gertrude's in 2016, before I discovered Avenue. That I left hospital and took a walk. And for the first time, I walked and I was telling God, you listen. Like, have you ever had a conversation with God that you add your saying your terms? I was like, God, listen. Me, I've been here. I've been patiently waiting for this poop, even me. But I'm done. Because at that point, I was juggling night shift and I had the wedding business because we're trying to earn money. I mean, the child is expensive. A special needs child is expensive. Note to self. And I was hardly sleeping. I was tired 24/7. I had outcried myself. And I remember walking on that street on Muthaiga and just telling God, you do this. Me, I'm telling you, when I go back there, that child better be healed because I'm done. Like, I'm done. And if it's not healing him, we go home by tomorrow. Take him. But you decide, like, tell me what we are doing here because I'm not understanding what this 1 month is about. And I want to go home. I want to go home. So, honestly, the next day we were discharged because God knew so, by the way. Like, we were discharged the next day. This is after a month of staying in hospital. And I'm like, I can't explain it, but I was like, so for me, that was confirmation that God is not done with Nathan on earth. So we are going home today. And I thank God he wasn't done with him because we wouldn't be here celebrating him at 10 years.